Joining us now is Hussain Abdul-Hussain, a research fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Abbas in Lebanon for the first time in 8 years to try to find a way to disarm these Palestinian refugee camps. Why, though, are there armed factions in refugee camps that need to be disarmed at such a high level, and why is Abbas involved in this?
That's a great question. Why is Abbas involved? If we are to believe the presidential statement from Lebanon that the state is now sovereign, then the state doesn't need any permission from Abbas or anybody else to take on these factions and go into the camps. Now, mind you, whatever left of the 12 camps, I think at this point there are probably only 4 or 5 of them. These are enclaves that are outlaws. There's no Lebanese law enforcement inside of these camps. They used to be under the control of Fatah and the PLO, and now they're increasingly become under the control of Hamas. So either way, Mahmoud Abbas doesn't have a lot of influence over these camps.
All right, I wanted to ask exactly about this. He's the first Arab leader to go there. There's since Owen took power, there's a lot of imaging around this, a lot of it's being made into a very important visit. How much power does he actually have to actually make some changes and make this happen? And on the other side, how capable is the Lebanese army to actually go ahead and disarm these factions? How realistic is this trip to have influence on the ground, on the reality?
Well, to answer the second part of your question, the Lebanese army is capable of taking on these factions. They are limited geographically. Their spread is limited. They don't have any intel networks. They don't have enough arms supply into the camps. So the military, the Lebanese army, is much more formidable than these factions. To answer the first part of your question, I think Mahmoud Abbas, for him, to rely on Mahmoud Abbas to do this is an absurd thing. The guy doesn't even he barely controls anything outside of Ramallah. Even a place like Jenin, which is supposed to be under his control, under the Palestinian Authority, even there, the IDF finds itself increasingly forced to operate, let alone Gaza, where he keeps on saying that it should be handed over to the Palestinian Authority, but he hasn't been able to convince, let alone to force Hamas to surrender its arms to the authority. So the guy doesn't really control much. And to think that he can help the Lebanese take care of their own sovereignty looks like a long stretch to me.
And speaking of a long stretch, all of this is part of a larger push in Lebanon to disarm various groups, including Hezbollah. How well is that going, and how likely is it to succeed?
The only upside from Abbas's visit is that this is one way for the Lebanese government to telegraph to Hezbollah that from now on, the Lebanese government will be in charge of everything, of sovereignty, that there'll be no armed factions. Now, mind you, in the joint statement, the Lebanese said there will be no armed factions. They didn't specify Palestinian or Lebanese. So in a way, it's a good thing to remind Hezbollah that we are taking control of the Lebanese, of the Palestinian factions in Lebanon, and eventually of Hezbollah itself. Everyone thinks that the Lebanese army has been doing a good job, even though not as fast as everyone expected. So now everyone wants the Lebanese president and prime minister to come up with some sort of a timetable, even if it's a rough draft, just to let everyone know when they expect the completion of the disarmament of Hezbollah to happen.
All right, so slowly but potentially, surely, going in the right direction. Hussain Abdul-Hussain, thank you very much for joining us this evening.